Hello and welcome to Court Farms. This is a big day for the farm. We have our first new arrivals. We're just going to have a quick look at them. So, our first kids have been born. And here they are, some of them just lounging around still. Let's get a bit of light onto the subject. And there's plenty of them. There's loads of them. Hiding in the long grass. How cute is that? There we go. However, there's a bit of a disappointment. It's not a major issue, but it is a bit of a disappointment if you have a look at the amount of males been born, 31, as opposed to the amount of females, 24. Of course, we are a dairy farm, so we would have hoped that that would have been the other way around, or even slightly better in the female. The female amount, well, the amount of female kids that we got. So a bit of a disappointment, but as they say, beggars cannot be choosers. So we're still pretty happy with that. It just means we'll have to move the male kids on, which we would have to do in any event. So let's just go and collect today's milk. It's going to be way down because of the birth of the kids. So I'm not expecting anywhere near the 1,000 litres. Yeah, only about half. But still some income. And of course we've got over 50 new goats. And later on in the month we'll be moving them over to their own pen. We'll be taking them off their mothers, and they will then be able to frolic in their own pen for a while. The females will of course not be moved on, they'll be taken into stock, but the males will move on as soon as we can get a decent price for them. Right, so we've got to take on some more contracts. So I've taken on 4 baling contracts, 3 of them which will be silage, which we'll sell directly. Any excess we'll sell directly, and one is it's the field sort of one over from us, field 31, which we will make hay from, and hopefully we'll get some extra hay bales from there, which we'll take into our own storage, of course. We won't show you all the operations of that. It's going to take the rest of this month at least, but we have at least one set of equipment which will be able to do all the silage. I'll have to just lease another tedder as well just to do the hay field, but that should be relatively cheap. So that should give us quite a bit of income. Might only come through early in next month, because I think the amount of work that's going on in there, and between Beryl and I, we'll have to cover as much as we can during the course of this month. But as I said, I don't think I'll get into the nitty-gritty of it. We've just got all the equipment that we've got together, just making sure that it's got a bale loader, because that's important. Just to be able to move all the bales, because there'll be plenty of them. Right, so we're just securing the contracts. Yes, I went for 3 silage contracts. There's one big one which we've leased equipment with, or we're using the equipment from that, and then we've got 2 smaller ones And then the field 31 is also quite big, so that should give us quite a few bales of hay. Hopefully there'll be quite a few left over from that. Just finish off securing these contracts and then we'll get back to looking after the kids. I was just contemplating whether to hire any other of the other equipment, but I think, as I said, except for the tedder, we're okay. Right, so we need to lease a trailer to transport the kids in, so we want to move them from the main barn. We're now into the latter part of April, so they've spent quite a couple of weeks with their mothers, the kids, and we'll get down there and start moving them over. Of course, in real life we would have just herded them across. It's quite funny in real life when you just when we did take the kids off their mothers, pretty much had to catch them by hand, and they don't generally like to be caught. We do try to trick them a little bit when the mothers are milking, put some milk in a new enclosure for them, and that gets the most of them, but there's some that you have to chase. So as you could see there, we had a little bit of a design problem with the shed, in that there was not really enough space to get the tractor and the trailer into the right position to load. I'm not too worried about that because, as you'll see later, I managed to work it out, and the tractor was quite happy to go slightly up the hill there. So we'll move all the male goats first. They're all going to go into the same pen, so it doesn't really matter whether we move them together or separately. As you can see, they're a little bit up the hill. Oh dear. I do manage to make it look a little bit more realistic. But yeah, we'll get out of here. This tractor's a good little thing. So we have got a little bit of water and a little bit of food in this enclosure, and we'll top that off camera later so that they've got enough food. Just got to find the trigger. I know it's at the back here somewhere. Just got to find out exactly where it is. The place where we have a little gap, well, not a little gap, we have the ability for the fence to open. There it is there. Right, so we'll get these into the pen. We'll have little babies running around this pen. Always a nice time on the farm when you've got lots of kids, because they are mischievous and full of fun, especially when they start prancing and jumping up and down, and yeah, I've always loved this time of the year on the goat farm when the kids are around. It just makes everything feel like it's rejuvenating, you know. It's fantastic. So get the next lot out. Yeah, so it's a pity there's not a way to herd animals between pens, as opposed to having to transport them. I suppose it would take quite a bit of programming to get that done, but I'm sure that it can be used for all the animals, really, for all the types of animals need to be separated off after birth, especially with the enhanced animal husbandry mod, which is really good because it does give you a more realistic, because we've got 55 odd kids, 56 odd kids, can't remember the numbers exactly, or 40 goats, which is fair, On our farm, in real life, we used to, I'd say on average, get two. Very seldom had single births, and occasionally triplets. But I would say we had a very high percentage of twins, which was very much the norm. So we'll see how that transpires as we go along with this, with building up our herd. Yeah, so while this is the main job for this month, we are still in the background working on the fields. So while I'm doing this, Beryl is either mowing. Actually, I think she was tedding the field 31, which was to make hay. So it's working quite well. As soon as I'm finished with this, then Beryl will come back to the farm and she'll be looking after the mothers, making sure that they're all in tip-top condition. Of course, what I didn't mean to mention earlier on is the drop in production is due to the fact that there were births of kids, and of course the colostrum that the goats make as for the first milking after the kids are born is vital for the kids. So it's another reason why we leave the goats with their mothers for a while, is to make sure that they get those antibodies from the colostrum that they produce. Vitally important. And of course, it is inevitable that some kids, you have some birthing problems, and you have some mothers that lose their kids, and they would still have the colostrum, which we would milk off and save just for sometimes when these triplets and the mothers can't feed all three. We have to take off one of the kids and bottle feed them, because in the wild they would obviously be left to their own devices and wouldn't survive. But in our situation, especially if they're female, vitally important to make sure that they survive, but also the males, because we do get fairly good money. We move them on to other farms which will eventually raise them for meat. So we don't go in for the old methods of ensuring that, making sure that males are destroyed as soon as they are born, which is a fairly old and outdated practice. And I would hope that there are no farms, certainly in our area, that are still doing that type of operation within any dairy context. Right, so we're pretty much getting to the end of this. I think this may be the last load. There might be one after this. I'm not sure. I was busy chatting so much. But I think there may be one more of this. I'm not sure. But yes, so it's going pretty smoothly, the moving of these kids. They'll be quite happy out there. They've got enough food. They've got plenty of room to roam around. They've got shelter in there if they need it at night. This is the last lot. It's just the last three. So that's all of them moved across. Fantastic. Really, really good. Let's have a quick look at it. The motorbike screaming past us here. So there they all are. So they've got a bit of water. We have to manually feed them water in this configuration. There they are, running around the fields. Fantastic. It's a good day for the farm, even though we're slightly disappointed in the numbers, but it's a good day for the farm. Right, so we finished everything. Everything has been baled. We're just starting to move the silage off the field, but it's getting quite late. We've moved one load off already, and as the sun is setting on a splendid month for Court Farm, or for Bottom Farm on Court Farm map, we feel that we are now pretty much on our way. So all the silage has to be moved to town bales, which is very close to this field, a little bit further from the other two fields that we did. But they're pretty small fields, so I'm hoping that with the delivery of this load it will be very close to completing the requirements for the contract, and we'll have quite a few bales for profit out of this. But that's where we're going to end this episode. Thank you so much for watching this very exciting and milestone episode, really, as we take this last set of bales just to the town bales gate. It will be closed and we'll have to deliver it in the morning. Thank you once again for watching. Please like and subscribe, and cheerio.